She had violet eyes that captivated the world and a screen presence that turned every scene into a moment of history. Elizabeth Taylor was more than just a Hollywood star. She was a living legend. But behind the diamonds, the red carpets, and the scandalous love affairs was a woman quietly breaking down, physically, emotionally, silently. What really happened behind closed doors? How did her fragile health nearly destroy one of the most iconic careers of all time? This is the hidden story of the pain Elizabeth Taylor carried, and how she nearly disappeared from the spotlight forever. The glittering beginning and a fragile foundation. Elizabeth Taylor didn't only get fame as a child, she was made for it. As soon as she starred in National Velvet at 12, viewers fell in love with her. People were charmed by how ethereal she looked and how commanding her voice could be. But as early as those years, signs began to show that thought something wasn't normal. Taylor was frequently sick. Her back was a little curved and she often fell ill. But MGM, her studio, didn't pay any attention. She was only considered as another thing they sold. A perfect porcelain doll. In the shadows, doctors were actually giving her strong painkillers, lots of antibiotics, and stimulants as if they were treats. And Liz, she kept smiling. When you're that well known, showing any sign of pain is a mistake, so it must be hidden. Not only glamorous, but also suffering. Elizabeth Taylor had to cope not only with physical hurt, but also with emotional problems. She had 8 marriages to 7 different husbands. Each one made her feel a little less stable. The man she loved most, Mike Todd, died in a plane accident. After she ended things with Eddie Fisher, she tried to take her own life in 1962. Even so, she remained professional and was always ready for the cameras. She was known to the world as a diva. But in reality, trying to always be perfect was too much for her to handle. Thus, what comes to mind, the diamonds, the gowns, the elegance, was really just an illusion designed to cover continuous suffering. The price of her sparkle. Elizabeth Taylor spent more than 70 times in hospitals during her life. She was saved from pneumonia that made her slip into a coma, but she recovered. She was shown on TV having a tracheotomy. Thanks to both her bent spine and film injuries, she had to deal with back pain all the time. But she returned to work over and over. Why? Acting was more than a job to her. It was what kept her alive. All of her performances were a silent message saying, "I am alive and I am still working." The public betrayal and the tabloid obsession. Even as Elizabeth Taylor dealt with serious health problems privately, the media made a show of her pain for the public. The tabloids picked on her and gave her the tags fat, washed up, and addicted. People with cameras stayed outside her hospital windows all the time. They joked about how much weight she had put on, guessed about her using drugs, and treated her complicated health issues as plain entertainment. And what was Hollywood doing? Nothing. Studios stopped calling. Directors chose younger, healthier actresses. The industry that once made her a queen watched her fight her struggles without a word. Consequently, her issues with her own health were joined by loneliness from the industry that had once valued her so much. Do you know that Elizabeth Taylor was one of the very first celebrities to openly check into rehab at the Betty Ford Center? In 1983, at a time when addiction was taboo and shameful, she stepped in front of cameras and said, "Yes, I'm struggling, and I'm getting help." That single act changed the conversation around addiction forever. She made it okay for people, especially women, to admit they were in pain. That's the kind of influence she had, not just on screen, but in the real world. The fight for a comeback, and the price she paid. Elizabeth Taylor beat addiction, surgeries, illnesses, and the deterioration of her film career. And instead of fading away, she began again. She started talking about AIDS at the time when hardly anyone else did. She came up with her cologne line. She proved to the world that when a woman is old, when a woman gets sick, or when a woman appears to crumble, she can get up and keep on. All her smiles, all the speeches, and being seen were having an impact. Her body was tired, her health never fully recovered. Yet she kept showing up. She would not take it that she is forgotten. That is, she said, it doesn't mean you stop living when something happens. That was her mantra. Even if it killed her, She did not elude from the world when she became famous. On the contrary, she reinvented herself in an amazing way. Instead of leading a peaceful, homely life, she comes out in the open and fights for the voiceless. It was no longer diamond or dazzling film role fame. She was to be remembered for her courage and sense of right and wrong. All her actions in the eyes of others shouted of determination, so that people remembered that the hard times do not mean that you should stop living. She made her pain a matter of importance. She made us all realize that being strong means getting up even if it is hard. Not just a survivor, but also a symbol. Elizabeth Taylor was not just a survivor of Hollywood all the way till the icy ends of death. She was the signal of every poisonous thing the system is made to cover the traces of. Age, illness, vulnerability. She did not want to disappear even when the lights were dimmed, and she did not ask for sympathy. She asked for truth. That's what made her powerful. That is what made her dangerous as well. The legacy of Elizabeth Taylor extended way beyond the silver screen. Although she captivated the audience and the public with her violet eyes and her glory, her compassion and bravery are what characterized her later life. She stood for causes where few people would, and in which her fame was not about garfunkeling, but about making an impact. She managed to transform private affliction to empathy and collective awareness to good adjustment. Her strength in fight against illness, heartbreak, unforgiving media glare inspired generations. With mourning her, the world not only said goodbye to a legend, it remembered a woman who taught us how to grow older with power, purpose, and grace, personal connection, and emotional close. I remember watching Elizabeth Taylor in Cat on a hot tin roof and realizing she wasn't just acting. She was channeling something deeper, something raw. That was her gift. She didn't hide the pain, she transformed it. Her story isn't just about fame or beauty. It's about the cost of surviving in a world that demands perfection. She taught us that illness doesn't make you weak. Silence does. And her greatest performance? It wasn't in front of a camera. It was every day she got up, smiled, and kept fighting. Elizabeth Taylor nearly lost everything to illness: her career, her image, her dignity. But she never gave up. And in doing so, she gave the rest of us something far more valuable than a movie role. She gave us hope. If her story touched you, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more untold stories of the stars who shaped our world. And tell me in the comments, what do you think Elizabeth Taylor's greatest legacy really is? Until next time, don't just admire the legends, understand them.